Hi, Gwen. Good morning. Really excited to chat with you this morning, all about retention. So maybe if you could first maybe just tell us who you are, where do you work, what do you do?
Sure. Hi, Sean. It's great to be here with you. Thanks for having me. I'm Gwen Bradley. I'm the Vice President of Career Development at Howard Hanna. So that includes both recruiting and also training. So both of those are intimately connected in the Howard Hanna world. So I oversee both recruiting and then our training teams.
Well, those are obviously huge components of what makes a brokerage successful. And so I'm sure you have your hands full at, such a large organization. Um, Corded is just about to publish a report on the top 100 brokerage brands in the United States. And it came up through the research that Howard Hanna only lost 5% of sales volume in 2025, which places the company as number one in retention across the top 25 brands nationally,
Wow.
which is
Wow.
obviously a massive achievement. So, what would you say, Gwen? Does that kind of achievement say about maybe the health of Howard Hanna today?
Well, first of all, that's an amazing stat. So I'm so glad to hear that. We are really built different over here. And one of the things we lean into is really helping our agents succeed. I mean, we are just an agent focused brokerage. So all of our success comes from the health and successes of our agents. And we really lean into that in every aspect. When we're recruiting someone, we make sure we know what their strengths are. We'll give them a quiz to say, fill this out so we know where to best equip you as you start your real estate career. And there's certain tools that'll be great for you, and there are certain tools that maybe not. So if you've
Hmm.
got an extroverted person, we really want to equip them to speak effectively with their sphere. If we have someone who's really great with systems, terrific. We'll get you set up with some really terrific prospecting tools. And being able to lean into those HANA systems is how we are built differently. And I'm not surprised. I am so thrilled to hear you say this because we spend so much of our time and energy really equipping our agents to be the best agents. So I think that shows, and people want to be at the place where they can be a best agent.
It's so great to hear that, right? Like one of the things that I'm hearing in what you're describing is it's not a one size fits all for any agent who joins the company. And I think what's especially impressive is Howard Hanna at this point is a very large organization, right? And you have, as I mentioned, in the top 25 brands in the United States, in fact, much higher than 25th. And you have kind of company-owned operations, you have franchise operations. And so we think of this kind of dominant company in regions throughout the country, and those regions are growing. But I'm also hearing there's this kind of relationship-driven model. I guess how intentional is that approach to your strategy over the years?
Oh, well, I mean, that's the heart of it. We're a family owned company. There are members of the family and throughout the organization. So the relationships run very deep. And the growth of Howard Hanna has really been, I mean, on a national scale. Our most recent growth areas have been New York City
Hmm.
and Philadelphia. So those are not just national, those are international destinations.
Hmm.
And so Howard Hanna's growth really has been very intentional. Those growth opportunities came from brokerages that approach real estate similarly to Howard Hanna. That it may be a small family-owned company that is also intentional about their growth and their approach to real estate. That it's agents first. So our growth is dependent upon this aligned thinking and being able to capitalize on that within the market that we're entering. So the regionality of it, I think, was a thing of the past. We really have become a national presence,
Hmm.
and being able to have our agents serving in the largest markets in the country is an honor and a great opportunity for more growth. Because within the company, an agent from any part of the company is now interconnected in all of the other parts of the company. So one thing that's very different about Howard Hanna, and I think leads to these great retention tools that you're talking, or numbers that you're talking about, is that we are not a franchise. We Everyone is connected.
Hmm.
If there is an amazing listing that's coming up in Long Island, our team in Michigan knows all about it. Or if there's a great new listing in our Hilton Head market, our upstate New York team knows all about it. So
Hmm.
there's this interconnected piece that we don't have to find the pieces and plug them together on their own. An agent is instantly part of the family and able to leverage that network. So those relationships and those connection points are what makes the ties run so deeply.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and you're right to correct me that it's not a regionally dominant company, but there are many regions, and you could consider this kind of a national or international company at this stage. Yeah, I used to lead expansion for a brokerage, and there were debates in the boardroom about, do we launch markets and kind of many markets and kind of plant flags around the country so that we could say we're in different places, or do we focus in specific markets and over time we kind of scaling the number of markets that we're in. It seems to me from the outside that Howard Hanna is in many markets, but it seeks to be a winner in each of those markets. And of course, the retention numbers are a huge thing to celebrate in the places that you're operating. So I guess as you think about kind of where you are relative to how big you are in each place, do you think that that strategy that you've applied has resulted in both, I guess, agent loyalty and kind of long-term production growth in the markets that you operate in?
Oh, that's a good question. Staying at the top of a market is a big job. I
Hmm.
mean, just yesterday, Hobie was presenting to our New York team about the states that Howard Hanna is number one in. So
Hmm.
the states that we do the number one, we're number one in business in this. We're number one in 5 states.
Yeah.
So to be able to claim that, that's impressive.
Yeah.
To be number one in 5 states when there's so much chatter in the market about real estate and brokerages and things that are going on. I think that is two things. One, agents recognize value and stability
Hmm.
and crave that.
Yeah.
There's always a shiny penny or something that somebody can chase or brag about. And that's your career. You want to know that you're not a test model for something. You want to join a company that knows exactly how to help you grow your business.
Right.
That's what's important. And then I think on a consumer end, consumers are eager to hire an agent who works at a number one company.
Hmm.
If you're looking for a terrific car, you're not going to go try one that they just built this year. Let's go see if it works.
Hmm.
You want a tried and true method that is going to provide you the best chance of success.
Yeah.
So the having that number one placement is important to an agent because it provides them the most access to the inventory that we have. So listings, people selling their homes, that's exactly how an agent is successful, to be able to connect with the most listings that they can. And when you're number one, that's what we can provide, is being able to get access to those listings. So when there's all this talk about buyer agency, or there's all this talk about inventory and where the demand is, when you're a number one, you're able to drive that. And so that's really, I think agents see that. And I've heard agents say, who aren't with us, right before they join us, they will say, I was so tired of fighting against what Howard Hanna was pitching against me. And
Hmm.
they want to be a part of that, so they're able to then bring the best service to their clients. So having that number one message and having that number one opportunity to grab market share. It's not even sharing, because if we've got number one, it's really a great opportunity for our agents to succeed.
Yeah.
And it's a snowball effect. The more business that we're doing, the more that we're able to provide terrific service. Selling houses for the most money in the shortest amount of time is a lot of people's goals. And when we can bring that to them, they recognize.
What I'm hearing, the underpinning of what I'm hearing here is focus, right? An ability to focus on being number one in production in an area, to be, focused on retention so you can, exhibit the best results on the retention side versus any of your peers. And I think, that's very different than, someone who says, "Hey, we're in 50 states." And then the next question is, "Okay, well, how much business do you do in each of those places?" Right? I think it's clear that Howard Hanna has taken a different tact and looks to be really, really focused and number one in the places that you operate. On the retention side, for those that are, listening to this, retention doesn't happen by accident, right? Like successfully keeping and growing the business of your agents is not something that happens without a heavy attention on it. So from a leadership perspective, and this is very relevant to you and your role, Gwen, right? What are the behaviors? You mentioned some of the systems. And what are the leadership behaviors do you think that are most directly contributing to agents staying and having success at Howard Hanna?
Oh, well, that's an insightful question. It's definitely not something you could ask to a lot of brokerages. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you asking that. I think the biggest thing really is consistency. The leadership from members of the family to other members of the team. I mean, I've been here so long. This is terrific. We know what the ins and outs are, and we can help an agent navigate through how to make the most for them. So I think consistency really would be the top thing that I would identify. Um, if you go to the Howard Hanna website, there's pillars that we brag about,
Hmm.
and our agents being the best trained, most forceful, most successful real estate agents is our number one pillar.
Hmm.
The other pillars are really impressive. We've got great marketing, we've got financial stability, but we also have a dynamic leadership team, and that's what you're asking about. That
Hmm.
that in an era where so many things have become virtual, Howard Hanna retains and really is building into the leadership team because we know it's all about relationships at the end of the day.
Hmm.
It's all about relationships in a very virtual world. Having those relationships are how people will be the most successful. And so the leadership team being consistent and being prioritized remains the same. So that's really I would say the biggest thing when it comes to leadership. Also, leaders in this company know that the priority is the agents.
Hmm.
All of us, we all know that. We know that our agent success is where we are spending our time and our energy. So when you have leaders who are consistent, similarly minded, we're able to offer the best success to our agents. That's a winning formula.
It's a really good point, right? So last summer, um, uh, along with two friends, Mike Del Prete and Eric Bramlett, we commissioned an independent research study on what drives agent loyalty to a company. And
Oh yeah.
what was interesting, yeah, you might have seen it, was kind of the part of what drives loyalty is the practical loyalty, which is, what is the training, which you mentioned, and what's the brand, which you mentioned, and what are the splits, and how does the office look, right? That's one part. Those are the practical things. And to be honest, those are the things that I typically associate with a brokerage, if you ask me to describe a brokerage. But there was a whole nother side that the agents actually brought up as being really important, which was the emotional loyalty components, right? So what does it feel like to work here? How proactive is leadership? How often does my manager or someone in the company reach out to me when things aren't going so well to offer a helping hand? How well do they see me as a whole person beyond just my business and the transactions that I do, right? And I think I can tell, right, that these are the things that, yeah, when you talk about kind of consistent and accessible and proactive leadership, like these are the things that your team does well. My question for you, and I was having this debate with Eric, who helped to commission the study. He runs a smaller brokerage in Texas, and we were having this debate about he's got a good culture, and it's so hard to get that culture to scale, right? You have to kind of protect that culture as you grow, right? And I can tell that it's part of this, beginnings as a family organization, that this is probably something that Howard Hanna started with. And my question, and you answered this a little bit with kind of who do you select to bring into the organization, but if you could touch on how do you kind of maintain a structure that has such kind of leading retention numbers, even in spite of growing the business to new places and in other areas?
That's a terrific question, and I think we could do a whole other podcast on that
Yeah,
topic,
sure.
um, because it's very it's so intimate to each agent, and then at the same time there are universal truths that come with it.
Hmm.
So every agent wants success, and they define that differently. But to be able to be successful, you have to be in a place that supports success, and that it's not somebody out to get someone else, or it's not some crazy pyramid scheme or something like that. So agents really want success. So what that will look like for each agent might be a little bit different. But what I've discovered is that agents are successful when they can focus on their business,
Hmm.
not when they're scrambling to try to find an attorney for a lawsuit that's come up against them, or scramble to figure out how to get something closed, or or to say, maybe I could get this closed if only a moving truck would come and unload something,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the logistics that come with real estate. Howard Hanna gets that. We are a real estate company. We have a
Hmm.
mortgage company. We have a title company. We have an insurance company. We're all connected, and the goal is to support the agents. And so we're not dealing with, a third party who may or may not care if your transaction closes. There are some mortgage teams and insurance teams and title teams, and I know you know this, who get paid upon the inception of the contract, not at closing.
Yeah,
So you've got a transaction that's not closed, and you may have somebody who doesn't care anymore, and it doesn't, none of it matters to them. They're just on to the next capture. And so here, that's one of the things that makes us built different, is the way that we have offered services to our agents through the mortgage company, which was created by the Hanna family in an effort to close deals. That's how it all started. Back in the 80s, it was their chance to close deals, and they saw a gap in the market, and so they created a mortgage company. It's not that
hmm,
that's where that so as the industry has changed and as needs of agents have changed, Howard Hanna stepped up and said, "We are going to offer a product that will help you." For example, we won an award last year, Most Innovative Brokerage, for offering the Buy Borrow Bundle, which
hmm.
allowed our agents to be better equipped during buyer agency changes. That a buyer could have a wonderful mortgage product by working with the Howard Hanna agent. Okay, nobody else did that. That's unusual. So agents respect that. And so they're able to focus on their business instead of wondering what is going to happen at their company. They're going to show up. Are the doors going to be open? Is it going to be owned by someone else? Am I now somebody on Wall Street that I'm a commodity? I'd really like to go and buy and sell houses for my clients.
Yeah,
And so I really think that's where agents are. They want to know what to expect when they show up at work. They want to know that they've got support when something goes wrong. They want to know that they can grow their business and not give themselves a ceiling, to be able to achieve the things that they're looking to do for their families. So, so I know and I loved when that report came out. So I'm glad you're asking me about that, because it was very insightful. And if someone is chasing a split, that's very narrow-minded.
hmm,
There's an analogy that I think is applicable, and I'll say it. It's elementary, but I think most people would rather have 60% of a watermelon than 99% of a grape,
yeah, yeah,
right? Like the efforts that you put in are going to be what you get out of it, and having the support around you will be able to give you the biggest chance for success. And if you measure that with what's ending up in your bank account at the end of the day, I get it. We can help you there. If it's with the impact within your community, I get it. We can help you there. If it's growing your family and offering them the most that you can to them, I get it. We can help you there. That's where we're able to customize an agent success. So, so I appreciate you asking me that, because there are a lot of ways to define success. And what I love about what we do here is we're able to help every agent define success like it counts for them.
yeah. Individually, which ties perfectly to kind of what you were saying at the beginning. Um, I love it, Gwen. My last question for you: if there's a brokerage leader listening to this who looks at what you're doing and has a goal maybe of improving their own retention by, let's say, 2 or 3 percentage points. Um, what would you say to them as kind of some advice of where to get started and improving retention?
That's a complicated, that's a
Yeah.
tough question. Um, it's complicated because you'd need to go back to 1957 and start a brokerage
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
let it be family run. And there's a classic phrase, time will tell is a classic phrase. So be consistent.
Hmm.
Invest in the relationships of your organization. Make sure your agents know that they're valued. Um, have the right people in place. Make sure that you recognize the fact that real estate is a people industry. We're
Hmm.
helping people buy and sell their biggest asset. And there's a lot of pressure on that to go well. And the number of things that are connected to buying and selling an asset are, they've got to find schools, they're probably changing jobs, there's all these other life stressors that are coming in. And I think remembering that it is a people organization first is key.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then to be consistent, to consistently pour into your team, to consistently pour into your agents. We really when we recruit people, it's they come because they know that they are the center of our universe
Hmm.
and that we are able to then help them with their career. And so that's we are built different here,
Yeah.
and being able to say that we are agent centric and we are authentic, and that it's a family company. The, pull all that off, and that would be
Yeah.
my suggestion. Remember,
Yeah.
it's people at the end of the day.
We had the same conversation when we released the report, right? Because many of the things that we came up with are things that need to be authentic to the company. And so if those are not authentic to you now, I would say you have to start doing it right away. The other interesting thing is great focus on retention is often more in my experience, and you can tell me if you disagree, it's a more of a focus of an effort of time than it is an effort of expense. So you have to really care, and this consistency, it's an easy word to say. It's actually really hard to do because every single day, every single interaction, you need to be really focused on this thing, and that takes your time, right? It can't just be something where, oh, I bought a new shiny object and this is going to solve retention, right? That's actually the practical loyalty part as opposed to the emotional loyalty part. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a difficult thing to do. And I think if folks are struggling with that, I would say there's no time like right now to get started on doing some of those things. And the last point that I'll make, because it's something that I'm passionate about and I'm more focused on more than ever recently is, we're profiling retention here and in terms of the volume lost. But we're in an industry now, we're in a market environment now where we also don't want to lose profit. And it's often our middle group of producers that are the most profitable. And as I look across the industry, I notice that companies are inviting the top agents to the president's circle, and then the managers are spending a lot of the time training the new agents. But it's our most profitable folks that get overlooked in the middle. They move the most. So you should be worried about them just based on market movement. And they carry the EBITDA of the business. And so, if anyone's listening to this and you want my 2 cents, even though I don't do what Gwen does, I would say don't forget about all of your wonderful agents in kind of the middle third of your roster, because that's the group that typically is the one who helps keep the lights on. I don't know if that's a way that you think about it internally as well.
That's really interesting. One of our like kind of KPIs that we'll take a look at is we'll say how much success are we seeing from an agent and what similarities can we see among other successful agents.
Mm,
So if we run our report to say who is using fill in the blank, start with one tool, who's using the CRM effectively, who is using Real Scout to be able to reach out to their teams, who is using fill in the blank, whatever it might be. What we've noticed, just like we said a minute ago about consistency, is if someone's using something consistently, then we start to see success. So
yeah.
the Hanna success system that we like to offer includes a variety of different tools for people to be able to select what works best for them, customize it,
Hmm.
and then use it consistently. I like to automate things as much as possible. Agents are too busy on a day-to-day basis to every day have a check-in on their systems. Really being able to automate systems helps, especially kind of that middle group. I would say, quadrant, but whatever.
Yeah.
To take that middle quadrant of agents who are looking to kick it up a notch, that's really where I think the next piece of growth is within our industry.
Hmm.
There are a lot of very smart agents who are using this market. That look, if everyone's scrambling for something, great. Let's have you work smarter, not harder with that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so finding what tools to use in the best way are really where the winners are. But I will tell you this: when we look at the reports, those that do it consistently are the ones who are going to succeed. And it's hard to be. That's a word that's easy to say, like you said, but hard to do. And I think that's where our leadership team really steps in, just to keep everyone accountable. To say, look, I know you said you wanted this. How are you doing? But then also, look, if you start bumping into walls and it's hard, maybe there's a glitch in the system, or it's not quite working for your group. Where do you adjust to make that refinement work for your business plan? That's where the expertise of our leadership comes in. So I agree with you. I think that this is going to be an exciting year. Really, as we go forward, I know that there's a lot of talk about industry changes, and I'm very proud to know that when our agents show up at work today and tomorrow, that it's consistent. They can go to work, they can help their clients, and at every range, that's what they can expect here.
Well, I just want to say in closing, congratulations to you and your colleagues at Howard Hanna for having the number one retention of any of the mega
Exciting.
brokerages around the United States. And thanks for the time today to really give us a little bit of a peek under the hood at what's driving some of that success. So,
Of course.
thank you very much, Gwen.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
Talk soon. Bye.